Hey, we're back on the podcast with a return guest, Mr. Ernie Harker, who's here to tell you that your brand sucks, and he's here to help make it better, and he's the author of Your Brand Sucks, Don't Take It Personally. He is a generative AI wizard, and he's a high-energy speaker who makes branding a blast. So we're going to find out about how we can use AI as this business-enhancing tool to get our marketing figured out, to create these images that just make us so imaginative and happy, and use this amazing tool. It's at our fingertips. Everyone has it, but we have to use it better than others, and we have to not ignore it and embrace the future. So, Mr. Ernie, glad to have you back.
Thanks for having me back on your show. You guys are awesome.
You're awesome, and you bring so much energy and the neon coloring. And so, what have you been up to lately?
Thank you. You know, I've been doing a lot of AI workshops. I speak a lot. Which I love. I love the travel. I love meeting people. I like sharing the insights that I have through my career, especially generative AI stuff, because as soon as I share it with somebody, the light goes on, and nothing gives me a charge more than seeing like the light go on. They're like, I can do what? I'm like, yeah, I feel like I just introduced them to like their own genie in a bottle. It says, look, you rub this sucker, and it'll give you all the wishes you want. So it's fun to give that gift.
It sounds dirty almost. And so as far as these light bulb moments that ahas people have, like, is there anything of note? Is there anything that you feel is like common sense to you, and you mention it and someone like came alive in that way?
Hey, say that again. It broke up just a little bit. Is there anything that's common?
Is there anything that's common knowledge to you, but excited someone hearing about it?
Yeah, I mean, the ability to create your own GPT has been around for a long time in Chat GPT, but and you have access to a whole bunch of other people's GPTs. There's a library, like a whole bunch of GPTs that you can explore and check out. But one of the things, and here's my special sauce, I'm giving it away right here, and that is, there are generative AI tools that can look at your content, like your social media content, if you wrote a book or whatever, and it will generate like a personality or a tone for your marketing language. But oftentimes, the way we, that source isn't as potent and as succinct a personality as we would like. So creating a GPT in ChatGPT, a custom GPT, allows you to be very clear and succinct about the personality, language, and vocabulary that you use in your branding and marketing. So once you have that crafted, which isn't very hard, I show people how to do it all the time in minutes, the prompts that you use now can be shorter, easier, because you don't have to coach it to sound like your brand. And it could be a personal brand, or it can be a professional brand, a company that you're working for. So once that's kind of like that GPT's been created, like a marketing genie has been created, it's waiting there for it to grant my any wish. Hey, can you write me a quick social media post about this article? Copy, paste, article. And it goes, Ernie, I know you. I know what you like. I know what you talk about. I know your language. I know your tone. I'm going to write that out. And when I read it, I go, this doesn't sound like ChatGPT wrote it. It sounds like me. I just copy that, paste it in. Oh, there's sometimes little adjustments, but it's got such a strong flavor of my brand that the wordsmithing and tweaking at the end just becomes negligible. So that's the thing that's like the tool that's kind of common knowledge, it's available to anybody, but is not being used the way it could be used in that situation.
To make it sound like you, and you said personality, language, vocabulary, because I think we've all come across this, right? We've come across where someone used ChatGPT to talk to us, and it's like this big long thing, and there's the bullet points and stuff's bolded, and it talks about testament to this and crucial of that, and we're like, no one talks this way. And then what I like about ChatGPT that you're reminding me is like the more you use it, the more it sounds like you. And I find myself doing that a lot. I say, like, well, based on what you know about me, write this. Or like I'll make a
Hmm.
project and I'll pile in, like solo podcast transcripts, landing pages, past emails. I'm just like, hey, kind of use all this stuff. And that way I don't have to give as much instructions because, like, I don't know about you, but I fall a lot into the
Hmm.
swipe file. I find myself
Hmm.
like, I'll create a text file, I'll create a Google document with tabs, like all these
Yeah.
prompts, because I don't want to like retype it from scratch. But then the management of all of it seems to be a whole other thing. And so it seems to
Yeah.
be like I don't know if I just have to live with it and deal with this kind of middle groundness, or if there's some other solution to this goal of making it sound like you and just kind of being the clone of you.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you case in point because I'm a professional speaker. Um, my industry, the typical process of submitting proposals, submitting bios or kind of pitches is here's my printed PDF of what my keynote is about. The audience is fairly generic or universal because I might be submitting this to the Dental Associations of America that has their annual conference, or it could be the convenience retailers of Texas. Okay, the content in the PDF is going to be the same. Well, the issues that each of these different organizations face are different. The language they use for those organizations are also different. So, what I do is I have my GPT that I've written up my bio. I have the transcripts for each of my keynotes. And I also have like my personal interests, things I love to do. I even say, I frequently use words like awesome, kick A, wonderful. You know, the, I use those all the time. So I say in my GPT, please use these words. I also use words like ignite, light, spark that are my branding vocabulary. So instead of a response that Chat GPT would generate that says, "Hey, Ernie would like to start," or "Ernie would like to begin a conversation with you," it would be like, "Ernie would like to ignite a conversation with you." So there's like little things like that. I don't have to like, oh, you know what would be good? Let me just change that to ignite. It's already in there. So once you've got this marketing clone in your GPT and it knows your language and stuff, now I can come up with a proposal for the dental industry. And I'll say, hey, will you please write a, um, a 600 word proposal on this keynote topic for the Dental Association of America that has their event in, March or whatever. What it will do is it will say, hey, association, your patients and the doctors, the dentists that they serve are facing these challenges. I didn't have to put that in there,
Right.
but it addresses now that recipient, that association or event planner is going to go, this guy speaks to dentists. He understands the language we use and the problems that we face. I really don't. But for me as a branding guy, like the problems you face are the same problems every business faces. It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know what to do with a dentist. I only know how to work with auto dealerships. No, the problems that they both face are the same. But my pitch or proposal is tailored and personalized for their issues and their needs. So now what I love about this is that AI that has this ability to kind of like universalize everything, genericize everything. Like, no, let's spend the time that it saves us in creating this in production. Let's use that to tailor communication to people so they feel more connected to us and more engaged. So use the AI tool, the bot, to actually create better intimacy. So that's how I'm kind of approaching it. That's my frame of mind.
And that's a great approach. It seems like you kind of have like the 80% core of what you're all about, but that last little 20% is the customizing it for that audience. And like you kind of have like 20x, 30x productivity, right? You're applying all these
Yeah.
different speaking gigs, and instead of you having to like put all this thought into the monotony of it, the repetition, you're just like, well, let me focus on being the manager and the guide. And so, do you ever come across any sort of like imposter syndrome with this? Because I know like now if I want to make like 10 posts on LinkedIn in a day, I can just
Hmm.
kind of knock it out. And I do, as you say, I do massage it, I do work with it.
Yeah.
But sometimes I feel like it's so easy and I'm just like, it's so fast, I'm just cranking it out. I feel like I give it less value because it's less work and faster. Do you ever feel anything like
Yeah.
that?
You know what? I actually wanted to prove a point by how easy it is to illustrate a book using generative AI. Okay. Because I've written and illustrated other books, and it is very time consuming. You have to be in love with it, your project, to be able to spend. I spent over 100 hours illustrating a book, just doing the artwork, not the layout, and not even the book, the words itself, but just the illustrations. And so I got into this. I wrote out an outline of a book that I always tell my kids about a little robot who is able to discover why the clouds are all green. It's just some nonsense book. And she's able to like solve the problem. Well, I have this like written out story that's not really, it's not polished, but I want to rhyme like Dr. Seuss. So I do Google search and I say, hey, what type of poetry does Dr. Seuss use in his writing? And it came up with some kind of iambic pentameter or something like that. I have no idea. I'm not an English major. So I grabbed that and I grabbed the definition of the type of rhyming and I pasted into ChatGPT and said, will you rewrite this story in this poetry style? Fantastic job, right? Well, I also said, and I need to do it, you have 9 stanzas because I want it to be an 18-page book, right? So I've got, oh man, that was easy. It had my idea, but I've been crafting it into now this cool rhyme. Will you now come up with a description of an illustration that would accompany each of these stanzas? Cool. Now I've got 9 descriptions of illustrations. Okay. Copy description, paste into ChatGPT and say, will you write a prompt for Midjourney to create this image? Creates the image. And now the characters aren't consistent. The look isn't perfectly consistent that I would be able to bring to it. But I kind of put the book together and it doesn't look great. Because I'm very critical about consistent style. And I can go back in and coach it and kind of get it to be consistent. But I am robbed of the process. If generative AI, or not even, if our only goal is to have outcomes, output, then we are missing out on life. There is something magical and nurturing about struggling through the process that we learn about ourselves and that we learn about others when we go, to draw something, I spent the first part of my career was an illustrator. In order for me to draw something, I have to pay attention. I have to look at you. I have to measure the distance between your eyes, the distance between your eyes and your nose. To make that portrait, I've got to look at you to a point where I have to see you, not just like, oh, there's a guy, brown hair, square jaw, looks like Matthew McConaughey a little bit, and I just sketch out something that resembles you. No, there's something about the hard work of homework that lets us grow, that then we can use that knowledge to use AI. And then it exponentially creates a better outcome. But I don't want to be robbed of the process of learning which is why I'm concerned about like how are we approaching generative AI in schools? Like I want people to use it, but I also don't want to rob them of the process of learning how to do it, how to do it the old way, like
Yeah.
photography or illustration or poetry or writing and things like that. There needs to be there. We need to do the hard work so that we can appreciate the advances of the technology allows.
Yeah, like there's something to be said about the uphill struggle and about strengthening the muscle and about like you being at least somewhat participating in it, right? Like even the way you
Yeah.
describe the kids book, there's like going from step by step, there's strategy, there's problem solving, there's kind of
Hmm.
defining where you're starting, defining what you're trying to do, shaping the outcome. There's some skills and value in that. And it is kind of scary, right? If AI can figure all that
Yeah.
out and just like read our
Yeah.
minds in a way or like do enough of it where it just says, hey, you don't even have to finish explaining. I'll do it for you. That's a
Yeah.
scary place to be.
Yeah. Can you imagine the future where movies don't have to be produced by anybody? We sit down in front of our TVs or our virtual reality headsets and we go, um, can you write just produce a movie in the next 30 seconds about that's kind of like Mission Impossible meets Survivor. Okay. And it turns out awesome. All the actors are totally CG. Oh, you know what? And by the way, put my favorite actor and actress in it. Oh,
Right.
great. Now
Put
it's
me
I'm
in it.
done. Yeah, put me in it. I want to be in there, you know? Uh I can see that actually happening, but there's a loss of the creative process where we find joy. Like I can I can draw something. I find tremendous amount of satisfaction being able to look, to draw something on paper or on an iPad or something. The actual process is enjoyable. It's not work. I like that. If I only learn to draw by typing in a description of the image I want, and generative AI creates a beautiful representation of that description, I'm robbed of the process that I find joy in. Whether anybody sees my artwork or not, I love that process. So I wonder if kids are growing up going, you don't need to learn to draw. What you need is an advanced degree in prompt engineering, and you can do whatever you want. Well, great. If the outcomes are the only thing that's important, then that sounds great. But if you want to grow, then you got to do it a little bit of the hard way.
Yeah. And there can be a process with that, right? You say, well, I'll
Mm-hmm.
use generative AI and I'll try I'll experiment with the prompt or I'll try 5 different ways or I'll say combine this with
Yeah.
that or you'll kind of have it make the drawing with those weird alien characters like why can't it can't figure out letters it makes this
Right.
weird shapes and you're like okay it looks close to what I want and then I'll go in Photoshop or Illustrator or Canva or whatever and I'll
Yeah.
like recreate what it should have been like then there's your
Yeah.
path, there's your process.
Yes, I do that a ton right now because I know how to do illustration and photo manipulation and stuff. I'll get, I'll get some that's like it's 90% there. I can finish it off faster than it would be for me to try to reprompt and reprompt and reprompt to get what I want. I'll just
Yeah.
I'll just finish it up myself because it's just faster and easier that way. And I have more control over the finished product than reliant only on what generative AI provides me with.
Well, you hope that it saves up some of your creative juice, right? They always
Yeah.
say that like the when you wake up in the morning, you have a certain like chemical in your brain, and the more decisions you make, the more it depletes that chemical. That's why like Zuckerberg wears the same ugly gray shirt
Right.
because it's one less decision. So you'd hope that if the generative AI graphic gets you 90% on the way there, then you can like save up those decisions for your final product and get it done
Yeah.
faster and kind of focus on that last mile. That's the hope.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like the opposite is true for me. Now knowing that I am not limited by financial constraints of production, it's opened up the Pandora's box of ideas for me that's driving me nuts. I have
Yeah.
more ideas than I can possibly execute because I've taken off the handcuffs of financial constraints. Of, you know what, Ernie, that great idea for a photo shoot of you riding a motorcycle in the Bahamas, you You can't get to the Bahamas. You have to rent that motorcycle. They probably don't even have that kind of motorcycle in the Bahamas. I'm like, but now I'm going to try it. I'll just type that in and get something.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, but I need a face, my face. So I'll just use my camera, change the lighting a little bit, and I'll get in the right angle, take a picture, and be like, got my head. I'll drop that on the body. Done.
Yeah. And I can relate to a lot of that. Just the and I don't know how to put it into words. There's like a certain amount of like, it's like anger and anxiety, but also excitement at the same time of like what AI unlocks. And just like I know, like I've been using it for programming. I use it to like make code, and then also I have a client where he gave me 600 episodes of a podcast, and he's like, make this into a book, keeping in mind the context window stuff with AI, so I can only do like 10 episodes at a time of the 600 episodes. And I'm like giving all this chat GPT, I'm like, put it into chapters, now figure out the subchapters, figure out the order, build them out, figure out the transitions. And I just like it kind of back to the process. And so along those lines, as far as like the igniting your brain, there's your word, ignite, right? Igniting your brain on fire, and these big ideas, and especially the way that you teach people how to use AI. Like, what's the missing link here? What should people be pursuing with AI? You already mentioned about like marketing materials, but like what can get people caught on fire as far as what AI can do for them and their business?
Here's a crazy idea. I mean, this isn't necessarily business, but it's like, it just kind of shows the process. My brother, I have a twin brother, and he does marriage and family therapy, and he's putting on an event, and where he's going to have other speakers come, and he's inviting directors of residential treatment centers. These are places where like teenage kids go to live because they're so disruptive in their families, and they get coaching and therapy, and then they work with their parents to get coaching and therapy so they can figure out how to get this problem child kind of ironed out. They can get around on the path of being productive members of society. Well, he has this idea of putting on this event, and he goes, well, it sounds a little overwhelming right now. So let's do this. Let's get ChatGPT to help us write an outline of the event. Okay, great. It does a great job. That's so easy for ChatGPT to do. Here's an outline of the event based on the number of speakers that you've talked about and how many people plan to come. All right. In order for me to put on this event, what steps do I need to take to be able to make this happen by April 1st? These are the steps. Great. I have a limited amount of time. Please, and this is overwhelming. Please break this down into 30-minute chunks of activities that I can do over the next 30 days, so that by the end of these 30 days, I will have prepared for this event. Well, now it breaks down a list of 30 items in 30-minute chunks that if you added those up, you go, yep, the event's ready. Well, now my brother, who's instead of being like, oh my gosh, I can't get all this done, it's like, nope, just do the first 30 minutes. That's it.
Right.
We're working. Then once that's done, go to the next 30 minutes. And if you have a half an hour, do one. If you have an hour, do two. And he's like, this is so much easier. So generative AI's ability to break down complex things into bite-sized chunks is something that we can all use to make our jobs a little easier, a little more paced. Hey, I need to get this big job done. It's a huge project. Can you break it down into little pieces so I don't feel overwhelmed? Okay. I can sit down for an hour at a time. Can you break it down into hour chunks? That I need to accomplish this task or these tasks in 1 hour. Okay. Drops it in there. Oh man, I think there's so many different ways to use it. I think the more we start using it together, we all start using it. Well, and we share, because we're in a world right now where we're actually sharing. Like me, I'm sharing this stuff with you, and you're going to share it with your audience.
Yeah.
We're going to get little tips and tricks that we go, oh man, that's a great idea. I'm going to use that. And then we'll start to think about communicating the language of AI. Knowing how AI thinks and operates will allow us to better prompt it to get the outcomes we want.
That is genius. That is super cool. In the similar way that every human's different, but some humans are, introverted, extroverted,
Yeah.
some are narcissists, some are shy. It's like people have different attributes, different personalities. And so it's like there's a certain language to be had. And so I love some of these ideas here of like speaking the language of AI. And I thought I heard of everything. I thought I heard all these simple ways to use it, but like, that's great. Like if you have this project that makes you scared, that overwhelms you, you say, hey, here's the end point.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where I need it done by. Can you break it down for me? And then here's my time constraints. Can you make it easy for me? I assume like kind of massage that back and forth. And even if say you're like, if you're off track, right? You miss a few days, you're not on track. You can just give it to that again and have it readjust for you. I mean, that can change productivity, time management for a lot of people.
Oh my gosh, heck yeah. There's so many things. I could go on and on and on about it, but I know we don't have time.
But that's the point of a podcast, right? Yeah. Next time, yeah, we'll do the cliffhanger effect there. But so as far as that next time, right? If someone wants to find out more about you, your website, your YouTube channel, your keynote speaking, your book, how can someone do that? What are some next steps if they got so excited and ignited about what you had to say? How do they get more?
I love how you dropped that in, that ignited. See, you're using my brand language.
I dropped it in like 5 times this conversation.
You're awesome. You're awesome. The best way is to go to earnburn.com, ERNBURN.com. You can send me a message, schedule a meeting, check out my speakers content. I even think that I have some of my illustrations on there for you guys to take a look at. A lot of fun.
Nice. So that's earnburn.com to find those illustrations, to find those videos, to find out some of these amazing stories. You can find out how Ernie he helped transform a small retail chain into a $3 billion powerhouse. One business owner watched one of his talks on AI and says, this talk just saved me $90,000. So if that sounds good to you, if you want to listen and learn from the $1 billion branding guy, if you want to watch his energetic keynotes, you want to find out just that productivity tip alone about AI. I mean, that alone should get you really excited to find out more about AI and especially Ernie's unique way of doing it. That's ERNBURN.com, earnburn.com, from professional keynote speaker, AI branding specialist, Mr. Ernie Harker. And we make sure to drop those keywords in here, Mr. Ernie, because I then use the transcript for AI for the show notes and the graphics and the LinkedIn post. So we make sure to drop the keywords in. They'll make sure to use it. So it has multiple purposes. But
brilliant.
As far as
you're a genius.
Oh, you are. I learned from the best. But as far as keeping things exciting and enticing for humans, right? Human psychology, we want to end with a bang instead of a whimper. So along those lines, it's time for the ending, scary, exciting part of the show where I try to put you on the spot. I ask for a fun or interesting quote or lesson that has served you in life or in business. So it's a scary question, but what comes to mind for a fun quote or lesson that has served you?
I use this all the time. Easy choices, hard life. Hard choices, easy life. It's the easy choice of I just want to sleep in. I want to take the shortcut. I don't want to invest in personal development. Those are easy choices because they don't take any effort. But that leads to a hard life. But when you make the hard choices, I'm going to wake up early. I'm going to have self-discipline. I'm going to be committed to this goal. That creates a very easy life.
Very nice, very beautiful. And because of the magic of AI, we're hoping that the Reels will pluck out that exact clip and put in the captions beautifully, and we'll put that on LinkedIn. So easy choices, hard life, hard choices, easy life. We'll think about that as we go to earnburn.com and educate ourselves on AI in the future and use it to create the best life possible, create an amazing business, and learn from the best, Mr. Ernie Harker from ERNBURN.com. Thank you very much, Mr. Ernie, for showing up, stopping by, blowing our minds. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Robert.